All right, welcome to all of our friends out there. My name is Greg Cohen, and thank you all for joining us on today's webinar. We are coming to you. We have changed our location here for our webinars. We're stepping up our game. I don't know if you were checking out our Facebook posts and whatnot, but we got some fancy lighting now. I don't look like so much of a zombie, which is pretty cool. We are in the process of stepping up our AV, so I'm glad you're joining us here. You are in the right spot. If you are here to learn about new construction rental properties and why these can be so advantageous for you, you're in the right spot. And we are going to jump into this party right now. So give me a second here. I'm going to pull up the slideshow, and we will be off and running. I don't know if I introduced myself. Did I introduce myself? My name's Greg Cohen. I'm from JWB Real Estate Capital. You know, it's simple things sometimes you forget to do. Here we go now. Boom. We are in the game, and the slideshow is off and running. All right, IT stuff, AV stuff, done. Now we can just focus on new construction rentals and how this can help you. All right, so I wanted to do something fun, though. If any of you do follow us on social media or you're part of our client list and have been receiving emails from you, maybe met me at a training that I was doing live, or have come to our office, one of the things I talk about often is this book right here, Rich Dad Poor Dad. This book changed my life, and every once in a while, I just like to give it away. So I thought today would be a great job or a great time to give it away. And I want this webinar, I want this training, I want this Facebook Live to be interactive so that you can get the most out of it. So I'm going to be giving away a copy of this book, which I hold near and dear. I read it at least once a year, and it is a book that absolutely changed my life. I'm going to be giving it away to one lucky listener today. The way that I'm going to choose, or Kate's going to choose. Kate's my assistant. She's off camera here, but she's probably going to choose today. You're going to have to really impress Kate if you want to get this book. But we're looking for the best questions, the bestest questions, the mostest questions. Comments, whatever you need to get the most out of this is what I want for you. So feel free to throw your questions into the chat box if you're joining us on the webinar. If you're on Facebook or any social, you can put some comments, and then Kate will make sure that we get to answer those questions live with you today. So that is there. You do have to be in attendance at the end of the webinar. Don't cut out of class early. So that's when we'll give that away today. But a little bit about me. So again, my name is Greg Cohen. I'm the CEO of JWB Real Estate Capital. I was here on day one when we started this thing back in 2006, and it's been quite a fun journey and party all the way through 2019, 13 years ago. I do own over 300 rental properties, so I know a little bit about what I'm talking about today, specifically for new construction rentals. And JWB sells turnkey rental properties. By a turnkey rental property, what I mean is if you're an investor who wants to own rental properties, but you don't want to do any of the work, JWB packages this entire experience for you so that you can invest in a rental property. We do all of the management for you. It's all in-house, and we're able to send you what we call mailbox money. Even though it comes through in ACH deposits now, you can still think of it as mailbox money, meaning that every month it's going to arrive consistently for you, almost like a well-paying dividend for you in the stock market. That's what we create for our clients. So we serve over 1,000 clients who have purchased over 2,000 investment properties with us, and we manage over 3,100 properties to date and growing. We manage over $350 million in assets, and we have over 80 employees here. So a little bit of background on us so that you know that I'm worthy of sharing some thoughts and advice and expertise with you here today. So today, what we're talking about are new construction rental properties, and this is what one looks like. These are what we focus on for JWB. The vast majority of our inventory is new construction rental properties, so that's why I am so passionate about this. And the other reason that I'm so passionate about this is because the data behind new construction rental properties is very convincing that this should be a part of your rental property portfolio. We're going to get into the numbers in just a few minutes here. But when I say new construction rental property, what I want you to envision in your mind is what you see on the screen. Typically 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, maybe 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, maybe 1,500 to 1,800 square feet, open floor plans, two-car garages. This is the type of asset, and obviously it looks really nice. For those of you who already own rental properties, this probably looks very different than what your current inventory in your portfolio looks like. Because up until now, people didn't really have the opportunity to buy new construction rental properties. You know, the game of building a rental property portfolio was basically to go out there, buy a fixer-upper, you know, put all the work into to fix it up, get a renter in there, and hold on to it for a long time, which is how I started back in 2006. I love that model, but the concept of being able to buy a brand new construction house and make the numbers work just wasn't possible back then. But of course, we're going to talk about why it is today and how you can take advantage of it. So I have thought long and hard about why I love new construction rental properties. And I've also done a little bit of research. I don't know if you guys know this, but I want to make sure that this isn't just Greg's advice coming through on these live trainings that you spend with me, but that there's a lot of data behind it as well. And so that's what we're going to get into today. The 3 reasons that I think you should have new construction rental properties in your portfolio, the reasons behind it, and the data to support it. So the number 1 reason, if you have experience owning rental properties, and if you are somebody who is looking to substantially grow your portfolio, or maybe it's your first time, one of the things you will quickly come to find out is the number 1 pain point for an investor is your maintenance costs. It is the thing that is going to frustrate you to no end. And what I found is even if you're hitting your return expectations, when that maintenance bill comes in, it doesn't really matter. You have many people get very flustered with maintenance costs. So our job as a property management team here at JWB, we spend late nights thinking about how can we keep this maintenance cost number down, because it's so crucial to the client experience. And you know what, Kate? We've got a few things that have come up on the chat line here. Why don't we take a little quick break and recognize? And if anybody is chiming in from Facebook, let me know. But I want to recognize Chris Stokes. All right. He said, wow, impressive. You own over 300 properties. Impressive. That is pretty cool. Yeah, we do. We started way back in the day. And we've got Carl here. What's the difference between return on investment for new construction versus fixer-upper? Carl, you are like reading my mind, my friend, because we're going to talk about that in just a few moments here. So thank you all for some of the questions. And I say Chris and Carl have the leg up on, you know, mostest, bestest questions and and interaction so far. So you guys are looking good for my favorite book of all time. And all of you out there continue to let us know. We'll make sure we get all your questions answered. So lower maintenance cost is the thing that you need to focus on if you are going to walk into this rental property investment and want to walk out of it smiling, right? How can you decrease your lower and have lower maintenance costs? Well, not surprising, new construction rental properties have been proven within JWB's portfolio to have lower maintenance costs. That should make a lot of sense, right? That's not like me like dropping some earth-shattering knowledge. It's just should be something that makes a lot of sense for you out there. If you have a house that was built in 1940 or you have a house that was built in 2019, which is more likely to have more maintenance costs, right? The older one. Old stuff breaks, right? If you've got a brand new construction house, much less likely that you're going to have what's called deferred maintenance. Deferred maintenance means the things that are going to happen, mainly that they're very expensive, but the things that are going to happen over time, like things that you don't fix today that could happen later on. Well, you don't have those if it was just built. So obviously that is going to happen. But what a lot of people don't realize is that maintenance costs are also tied to your tenant stay. We're going to get into vacancy costs in just a second here. But you're going to find that you have lower maintenance costs on new construction properties because your residents, tenants, I call them residents because they stay forever, but your residents are going to stay a longer time, which is going to decrease the amount of turnover you have, and that is the big saver of maintenance costs. So let's go get into how people actually justify how can you compare apples to apples for maintenance costs is really what I want to show you here. So this is the typical industry standard way to evaluate maintenance cost. All right, you want to do it on a percentage basis. So you're looking for what's called your maintenance cost percentage, which is just your annual maintenance cost divided by your annual rental income. Okay? Annual maintenance cost over annual income. Okay? So easy numbers. If you had $1,000 of maintenance cost over $10,000 of rental income, you've got 10% maintenance cost. Okay? Well, the industry standard for maintenance cost is 7%. So if you're evaluating your own rental portfolio, or if you're considering other rental properties to invest in, what you typically will get thrown at you is this maintenance percentage of 7%. I'm here to share a little dirty little secret with you. Even though many people use this industry standard, I haven't found another company out there that actually tracks their maintenance cost on their own historical performance. So this is an industry standard. I don't know where it came from, but one word to the wise is when you are thinking about making a decision to invest, go and actually ask them the data to support whatever their maintenance cost percentage is. But lest I digress, okay? Maintenance cost, typical industry standard is 7%. Many times, much higher. What we have seen in our portfolio, and this is real data from 473 turnkey properties that are new construction that we have sold, that we have tracked all of the maintenance costs all the way back to 2011, right? Our maintenance cost is 4%. So what you're seeing is because you have brand new stuff that goes in and tenants are staying longer. Oh, and I also forgot to mention that you have warranty. You have warranties in place, right? So if things do break, you've got vendor warranties in place. That absolutely helps offset the cost. So 4% is what we have seen with our real data. So what does that mean to you as an investor? Assuming that you've got rents of $13,800 for the year, okay? Quick math there, that's an $1,150 rent per month, annualize it. That means the difference between 7% and 4% is about $414 of additional cash flow every year in your pocket. At times like this, where cash flows and rates of return on cash flow are getting harder and harder to come by, that may mean the difference between positive cash flow for you and negative cash flow for you. So a very big deal there. All right, we've got a couple more comments in the chat box here. We've got Ron and Chris. Oh, Chris has got a couple now. Oh, Chris is taking the lead here. Question here. So how do you find the long-term appreciation is greater on the new versus older? Gosh, you guys are so good. All right, Ron, you know what? That's my third point. So we're gonna wait on that one. And Chris says, but your older homes have been fully rehabbed and upgraded to like new. What type of maintenance are you seeing on older homes? Very good question. Let's talk about Chris's question here because it's very pertinent to maintenance costs. So he's talking about JWB older homes have been fully rehabbed and upgraded to like new. And then he's asking, what type of maintenance are you seeing on older homes? So if you're looking at investing with JWB specifically, our maintenance costs, whether that's new construction or whether those are rehab homes, is not the industry standard. We're built differently and we're able to achieve lower maintenance costs, whether that is new construction or renovations. And we actually have the data to back it up. So if you were investing with us on the new construction property evaluation that you would see before you made a decision, you would see an estimated maintenance percentage for new construction of 4%. Okay? If you are considering investing in a renovated property with us, you would see a 6% estimated maintenance percentage because 6% is what we're seeing. Okay? So we're data driven. And so we have the data to back that up. And then we share that with investors going in, knowing that if it's a renovated home for JWB, you're probably going to have a little bit more maintenance costs. But guess what? At the end of the day, all those factors are taken into consideration, and you're going to find that new construction and renovated properties with JWB have typically the same rate of return expectation. So one might cost a little bit more, one might have a little bit higher rent, One might have a little bit higher expectation for maintenance costs, but at the end of the day, it all boils down to roughly the same returns. So that is not one reason specifically to go for new construction over renovations. It's all taken into account. A great question by Chris there, and hopefully, oh, and Chris, I'm sorry. She says I am a she, and I certainly apologize, Chris. That's what you get for live TV here, right? Or whatever we're doing. So, and she says no problem. I certainly appreciate the letting me know and having me fumble over my words there, Chris. I apologize there, but thank you so much for being a part of the show here. And Ron, we'll get to your question. All right, so we talked a lot about maintenance costs here. The big takeaway for you here is that maintenance costs are going to be lower on new construction versus the entire industry. When you're talking about JWB's new construction, you're going to find that's much lower than the entire industry, right? 7% is the number that the industry throws out for typical maintenance percentage. JWB has proven 4%. And because of Chris's great question, if she's asking about renovated properties within JWB, we're very clear with you that you're going to find lower maintenance costs on new construction. You're going to find slightly higher maintenance costs on our renovated properties. But at the end of the day, comparing apples to apples, the return on investment is largely the same. And with that, we're going to jump into our second point here. So the second most important reason that I absolutely love new construction is that you're going to find lower vacancy costs. Okay? Now, why do we think that we're going to see lower vacancy costs? Okay, I think this would be a great time to get a little bit of insight from the group here. We've got some of our top folks that are gunning for the book so far. I know Chris is here, and Ron has put a question in there. Why do you guys think that we would see lower vacancy costs for a new construction property versus a renovated property out there? All right, we got a couple folks chiming in here. All right, Marilyn says they feel better in a new home, right? The residents, aka tenants, I call them residents, right? The residents feel better in a new home. So what are they going to do? Are they going to stay longer? Absolutely, right? Should make sense. Laura says when people feel like it's their home, they'll stay longer. They take ownership in the home, right? If they stay longer, that means that they're probably going to take ownership in the home, probably going to treat the house a little bit better. And then Chris asked a question about home warranties. Chris, I'm going to hold on that one here just in a second. But getting back to why are we going to get lower vacancy costs? Well, it's because people are going to stay in the house longer. And vacancy cost really is the amount of money that you lose when a resident is not paying rent. So if they're in the home longer, they're going to be paying rent more consistently. You're not going to have a big of a loss. Okay? Here's the big takeaway here. The way that one thing that should make a lot of sense to you is that we are going to sign longer term leases. So if you think of nothing else as to how you can reduce vacancy costs, think long-term leases, right? If you have a brand new construction home and somebody has the opportunity to rent that, I don't know about you, but whenever I was renting homes, I never had the opportunity to move into a brand new home. I mean, that would have been shocking to me. I mean, you should have seen the things that I was renting, especially in college and other times in my life, right? They were not pretty, right? And remember looking at the home that I was sharing with you earlier. Our homes look very nice. So if you were a resident and you were thinking about renting a home in Jacksonville and you had the opportunity to rent a home that looked beautiful like that, and I told you, hey, listen, I want you to rent this home as your property manager, but we are only going to sign a 2 or a 3 year lease, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to be open to that because you had this opportunity to rent a brand new home. And so that's what we do for our owners. JWB doesn't sign 1 year leases with prospective residents. We only sign 2 and 3 year leases, and new construction properties allow us to do that. And then it goes even farther than that. The way to reduce vacancy costs is to make sure that they don't leave even when their lease is up, right? We want them to renew their lease. And so we renew 70% of our leases because it's not 100% because it's a new construction home, but there's a large part of it, right? Again, put yourself in the shoes of a resident who's never even thought about being able to rent a home that's brand new construction. You're going to find that you're going to have longer stays, and longer stays mean lower vacancy costs for you out there. All right. We've got a couple other folks. Ron says new areas will stay longer. Yep. And Nia says new equals less headaches and repairs. Absolutely, right? We were just talking about how lower maintenance costs come into play as well as lower vacancy costs. So let's talk a little bit about how the industry calculates this, and then we'll show you what the industry standard is and what JWB's new construction actuals are. So vacancy cost percentage is just the annual lost rent divided by the annual rental income. So what you're getting is a percentage that you're losing because you didn't collect the potential rent that you could have. And that's called vacancy cost percentage. And so the industry standard that you'll find out there, again, not many companies actually track this, so ask them to show you the data if they throw a number out there for you. But on a good day, the industry standard will tell you that 5% for vacancy cost is what they can perform at. You guys are going to be blown away when you see JWB's historical new construction vacancy cost. Do we have any guesses out there? What do you guys think our historical vacancy cost is, which is driven by data, actual data, over 473 properties from the beginning of time when JWB started selling them? What do we have? Some guesses out there. All right, we got a few here. I see 2% from Laura, 3% from Carl, 15% from Marilyn. Holy cow, 15%, Marilyn. No, I wouldn't tell you to buy from me if we had a 15% cost there. Ron says 3, Chris says 4. All right, it's actually just about Nia's guess, which is 2.09%. That's really good, guys. This is over 473 homes, about $80 million worth of real estate assets that we have tracked since the beginning of time, tracked every bit of vacancy cost, and we're at 2.09%. Okay, so all of these reasons that you guys gave as to people want to stay in new homes longer, people feel like it's their home. They are more likely to sign a long-term lease. They are more likely to renew. All this boils down into people staying in homes longer. And when that happens, you have less of a loss, which is really impactful, right? So a big deal there. And Chris says, awesome. Well, thank you, Chris. Well, I think it's pretty awesome too, but I want to break it down a little bit more because sometimes percentages don't really share the whole story, okay? So this breaking it down, assuming again that you had a monthly rent for your rental property of $1,150, take that out for an entire year, that's $13,800 of annual rents, and you calculated the difference between 5%, which is industry standard, and 2.09% of vacancy costs. What you're going to show is that you're going to put an extra $402 in your bank account. Again, what we've just talked about with lower maintenance cost is about $400 that you're going to add to your bank account, and vacancy cost about $400. We're talking about $800 of additional cash flow each year for you. Again, in an environment like we have right now, that very well may mean the difference between positive and negative cash flow. And it definitely will mean the difference between you hitting your return expectations that were set for you in the very beginning. So I hope you all get the impact that we're showing right here. I thought this was pretty cool. As you guys can tell by now, I'm a very data-driven individual, and I love Excel. And I was up yesterday morning. I couldn't sleep at 2:30. And to tell you just about how much of a nerd I am, instead of sleeping or trying to go back to sleep or maybe throwing a show on Netflix or something to try to fall back asleep, I got up and I started to look at our historical new construction portfolio performance and all those Excel spreadsheets. So that's what I was doing at 2:30 yesterday. And the numbers are really impressive and something that I want to share with you as credence for you to look at new construction and consider putting it in your portfolio here. All right, so again, well, it's so impressive, but I took it off the screen. I didn't want to do that. The data period here, 2011 to current, again, $78 million of assets we're talking about, 473 new construction properties, and we track what did we tell our clients to expect for their return on investment when they purchased the property versus what have we actually done, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 8 years later. And you can see that that additional $400 of maintenance cash flow that we found because our percentages were so low, and the additional $400 of not losing that vacancy, not having that vacancy loss added up. And what you see here is that originally when all of our clients who bought these properties, if you looked at it together, did the weighted average, you'd see that we told them to expect about a 7.8% return on investment. And if you look here and now, actually, we're at an 8.42% return on investment. That's really good, guys, okay? And that's over $78 million. If that's like you having a decision, you having $78 million in your bank account and saying, all right, JWB, in 2011, I'm going to give you $78 million. I want you to hit a 7.79% return, and JWB showing up in 2019 and saying, hey, you know what? Well, we hit 8.42%. There's a tremendous amount of additional wealth that has been created because of this asset class. And of course, JWB had a part in it as well. I also do want to point out that this does not include home price appreciation. Okay, this is just rental income and expenses. All right, and we've got another chat here. Does that take, Ron, me and you are just totally locked in here. Ron asked, does that take depreciation into effect? Oh, you switched it up on me. I thought it was appreciation is what you were going to ask. It does take depreciation. It does not take depreciation or appreciation in terms of value of the assets, right? Did home prices go up or go down? It does not take that into account. Just so you know, the value of this portfolio has gone way up, even though we had a little bit of a downturn, and then the value has gone up again. So if you were looking at actual values of the properties, Ron, the values of the properties that these owners have is much higher today than it was when they purchased them. But I didn't know you asked about depreciation. Sometimes folks are talking about depreciation from a tax perspective, and there are tax advantages. So if your question is about depreciation from a tax advantage perspective, it does take in the tax advantages into that number that I'm sharing with you. It does not take if you're talking about appreciation or depreciation of the actual home value. But a great question there. The big takeaway here is that new construction works. It's been proven to work in JWB's portfolio, and it's something you should consider. So Ron's question was, what about long-term appreciation? Well, here's some other data, okay? You should, obviously these houses look nice, right? But how does that correlate into more growth for you long-term? Well, here's some data points that you can rely on here. The average U.S. appreciation rate from 1991 to 2018 is 3.75%. That's coming from the Federal Reserve economic data. And so that's saying on average each year, real estate appreciated at 3.75%. A smaller segment. We know that we've had an appreciating market here lately. So I found a smaller segment. From 2011 to 2016, our appreciation across the U.S. is actually 6.3%. So values went up across the country. We're at 6.3%. Keep that in mind, because what I'm going to show you now is that specific things that you're going to find on new construction homes actually tend to appreciate faster. All right. What are some things that new construction homes have, right? New construction homes typically have garages, right? New construction homes typically have open floor plans, the things that buyers demand and renters demand in today's market, not, what everybody thought they wanted in 1980 or 1940, right? Those houses are outdated. So new construction houses have those things, open floor plans and garages. Well, check this out. From 2011 to 2016, open floor plan properties appreciated at a rate of 7.4%. New construction properties with two-car garages appreciated at, I'm sorry, this is not just new construction, but these are properties with two-car garages appreciated at a rate of 6.4%. So what do you know? Both of those things are standard in new construction properties today within JWB, and probably other new construction properties you're going to find out there. So the chances of you having an asset that is poised to appreciate higher is very strong when you're investing in new construction. All right. And that's from the National Association of Realtors, if you're wondering where that data is from. So a typical new construction rental property is what you're going to see right here. This is one that was purchased by a client probably a month or so ago at 2652 Red Robin. And so if you're considering investing in new construction rental property, specifically with JWB, this is what you're going to find. All right. You'll see the house on the left. You've got your property information on the right. $160,000 purchase price is pretty typical. 3 beds, 2 baths, and a 2-car garage for this new construction rental property. Your rent range for this one's between $1,100 and $1,200, and the estimated monthly rent on this one is $1,150, and this is exactly what it was rented out for. For some of you who have questions about property taxes and insurance, here's what you see for a very typical property. Property taxes are actually quite low compared to the nation for property taxes. That's a real advantage for cash flow here in Jacksonville, but $2,300 for property taxes for the year, and homeowners insurance is a lot lower for new construction because the building codes have been updated over the years. This is built in 2019 versus 1940. So the insurance companies understand that they're going to potentially face less loss, and that's why they give you a break. Your homeowners insurance for the year on this one's $446. If you were considering investing in this one, we would tell you to expect on a typical month, when nothing goes too crazy, right? Meaning your rental income minus your normal expenses, you're going to find $162 as your estimated monthly cash flow on this one, which should give you about a 9% return on investment. Okay, again, this does not include potential property appreciation. And we've got a couple of questions here. So I know we've got, well, John says, nothing beats the feeling of new. I agree with you, John. I agree with you there. Steve says, I love everything I'm hearing. Are you going to walk us through a live real deal and show your typical investor finances provides equity the deal on their end? Okay. So, well, that, again, man, I feel like I'm so locked in with you guys. I appreciate the good vibes you're sending, right? So hopefully, Steve, you're able to see what a typical deal looks like right now. What I would encourage you to do is to have more detailed conversations with my team about any additional questions. I know you had some questions about finances. I think you had some questions about equity. All of our properties are sold at market value, so that you will not walk in with equity right off the bat. But let's see what else we've got here. Carl says, where are most of your new properties located? State, cities, and rural areas? Carl, great question. We only focus in Jacksonville because we think that's the best market for you to be investing in. That's where I hold all of my assets, is Jacksonville, Florida, and that's where I'm going to put you as well. So an easy answer there. And Ron says, does the rental income increase or maintain better in new construction versus older construction? Does the rental income increase? You know what? I don't have the data pulled on that one, but what you're going to find are rent increases are happening in old properties and in new properties. Right now, you're just finding a lack of supply of rental properties and a huge demand. So you're going to find that rental increases are happening across the board. All right. So let me tell you about something that we offer for typically for current clients. So I recognize most of you that are joining us here are not clients of ours just yet. Certainly appreciate your time with us here today. And one thing that we do when folks are ready to make that step to potentially investing with us is we sit down and we plan it out. So if you think that new construction should be a part of your plan, I don't want you just going willy-nilly and buying something crazy and doing something, but making some offer on the internet somewhere and buying new construction, right? You need to think about this. You need to think about how much capital you need to invest. Think about the returns you can expect. A lot of the questions you asked today are very insightful questions. And so what we do typically with current clients, folks who already have an investment property with us, is we actually map their process out. How many properties should they buy this year, next year, the following years, so that we can ultimately get to whatever their financial goal is. And you know, and obviously that's a very big important part of hitting that goal and being successful. So if this is something that is interesting to you, you can go to chatwithjwb.com. As I mentioned, it's typically something we do with current clients, not new clients. But for all of you spending your time with me today, we have made sure that we have a few spots open for you today. I have 2 folks in the office that I've trained personally on this process of how to map this out so that you could walk away with a plan to know exactly how much you should invest today, how much you should invest in the future years to walk away with a certain cash flow goal. And they are really busy individuals. Typically, it takes 2 to 3 weeks to get on their calendar. As I mentioned, 2 guys in the office that do this, and we have thousands of clients. But we have opened up some of those spots. So if you would like to take advantage of one of those spots that we have open, you can go to chatwithjwb.com, and we will make sure that we get you on the calendar in the very near future. When you get on the calendar with one of the 2 members of my team, we are going to ask you some personal questions. We're going to ask you to tell us why you want to do this. And this is the most fun question that we get to ask, because we understand what motivations are driving you, to make the decision to invest in rental properties. I always tell people that there are a lot more fun ways you can go and spend your money than buying a house or buying 5 or 10 houses for other people to live in. It's not high on my priority list to do it for fun, right? I do it because there's a big motivation and there is a big payoff to doing it. And I'm sure you're the same way. So we want to know about it. We're not going to let you get away with just saying, I want to make more money. We're not even going to let you get away with just saying, I want to invest or I want to retire. I want to know, what are you going to do once you retire, right? For me, it happens to be the big motivation for me is time with my family. I have young kids and I want to be there every moment that I can. I never wanted to have to tell them I couldn't be there. And that may be something that you can relate to. It may not be. Yours might be completely different. So I was going to share a client story with you. A client, Matt and Alicia, who I got to know very, very well, especially over the last few years they've been with us. And they just have an amazing story. Matt and Alicia live in Arkansas, got married not too long ago here. And you'll see here on the right, that picture is of Matt playing Topgolf. I'm a huge golf fan. Matt's a huge golf fan. And so when he was on his honeymoon, he sent me this picture of him and his buddies playing Topgolf. Well, no, not his honeymoon. On his bachelor party, he sent me pictures of him and his buddy playing Topgolf. And I remember when we brought Matt on as a client, Matt just got it. He understood why the investment in Jacksonville made sense. When I asked Matt, why did he choose to invest in Jacksonville versus Arkansas or Memphis or some of these other markets out there that were either closer to him or maybe have other cash flow opportunities, he said, here's what I want to do. I'm in it for the long haul. I want to invest and own these things for 10 or 20 years. And you know what? Cash flow today, positive cash flow today is one part of the equation for me, but it's not the only thing. I want to invest in a market that has positive cash flow that also is poised for long-term growth, because I want to look at my long-term total rate of return 10 years, 20 years down the line. And when I heard that, it was like Matt stepped inside my head, because that's what I knew back in the day, 13 years ago when I started to invest. It was not about all cash flow today. Positive cash flow was my goal, but then it became, what is this portfolio going to look like 10 years, 20 years down the line? And so Matt said, I want to invest in a place where businesses are moving to, where they have the beach, where you have no state income tax and population is growing. And that's why he chose Jacksonville. And he showed me this Topgolf picture. And so at this point, you know, Matt probably had 5 properties with us, and so he's telling me, and I was like, he's telling me why he loves Jacksonville. And I'm like, well, Matt, you know, I know how much you love Topgolf just like me. I was like, you know that we have a Topgolf here. It just came, you know, a year or two ago in Jacksonville. He's like, no way. He's like, I want to follow businesses and I want to follow markets where businesses are moving. He's like, Topgolf's like my favorite business. I'm going to buy some more properties. So I think he bought like 5 or 6 more properties just based on that Topgolf conversation. So I think we have Topgolf to thank for Matt getting very far ahead in his goals here. But as of today, Matt and Alicia have invested in 15 properties. And this plan that you see right here is actually what Matt and Alicia built for them when they started. We understood what their why was, this financial freedom for them. They wanted to be able to do whatever they wanted to do, whenever they wanted to do it, and not be tied down by their current jobs or current situation, right? They wanted to have that freedom, that flexibility, and we broke it down, and we understood that meant $11,000 a month of passive income. Broke that down again, and it meant 16 properties in their portfolio. And so now today they're at property number 15, and they are on pace to hit that 16th property this year, and we couldn't be more proud and excited for Matt. They've invested over $1.1 million here in Jacksonville on assets that we've managed, and what we also are able to show is their returns over time. So all of this boils down to a better asset class and a consistent asset class, right? If you don't have as high a maintenance cost and you don't have as high a vacancy cost, you have more consistent cash flow. We'll take a look at what Matt and Alicia have experienced, right? From 2016, 17, 18, 19, right? The difference is really between 10 to 11% return on investment every single year. There's not a wide range, right? If you look at the stock market over that time period, you see lots of ups and lots of downs. You see lots of variability because of craziness that goes on in the world. It doesn't always equate to what the fundamentals of the stock market should be, right? It's a highly emotional marketplace. Well, rental properties is different. It can be that consistent asset class. And so when Matt and Alicia came on board, they expected 8.8% returns. And they're at 10.4% lifetime. Is that pretty good? I know you all are giving me a thumbs up in webinar land and in Facebook Live land. Again, that does not include home price appreciation. Way here. So Chris says, I visited your office this past Monday, met with Mike Stetson, and can't wait to start picking properties. Financial freedom. Chris, we are so happy that you shared that with us. That's what this is about. It's about setting those goals, working towards them, and working with the right team. And Mike Stetson is one of those two individuals who sits down with you and actually maps this process out. So that is something certainly for you to look forward to, Chris. I'm super, super excited for you. Laura says the why is key in any decision. I love where your head's at, Laura. I love that story of Matt and Alicia, and we have tons and tons of client stories. Laura, maybe you'll be one of those stories here soon. Nia says, great. Carl says, absolutely. And Chris says, does that account that I already have an appointment? Does it count that I already have an appointment? Chris, we're excited for you. So we're going to count it because you spent your time with us here today. So you'll make sure that you're included in that incentive there for you. And then we've got a couple of other questions. We've got 5 questions here. We've got, John says, what kind of roofs are found on most of your new construction homes? Oh man, John, if you know anything about me, I'm not much of a construction guy. So I'm going to get back to you on that answer. I stay far away from the materials that we actually use on our new construction home. We have 80 people on our team who are much smarter than me. And I'm going to get that answer for you after the webinar here. John says, is Jacksonville inland enough that hurricane force winds don't affect the structures in your area? Great question that we get from time to time. So how do you protect your asset in the face of a natural disaster, right? If you go to any market out there, you're going to find natural disasters are possible, right? You know, California's fallen into the ocean, right? Or earthquakes, right? In the Midwest, you got tornadoes. In Florida, you have hurricanes that can happen. So the question is Jacksonville inland enough? Well, Jacksonville actually goes to the coast, but what you're going to find are the neighborhoods that we invest in, largely speaking, are inland, so they're not on the coast. If they were on the coast, we couldn't get cash flow for you, so we don't go out there, right? These are going to be established neighborhoods, many miles, right? 20, 30 miles inland typically is what you're going to find. But I don't want that to make you feel comfortable, right? Because a storm could come 20 miles inland, right? I want you to feel comfortable investing in a place which could have a hurricane because you have insurance, right? All of our properties have insurance. It's a requirement in the state of Florida, and we set you up to make sure that you have the right insurance in place. And when you have the right insurance in place and you have a team that can handle an issue, right? If there was a storm, which we have had storms in the past, we have a property management team and construction team and vendors that are poised to take care of the resident in that situation. Because that's the thing I care about the most is the resident who's living there. The house is going to get taken care of by insurance, right? And actually, even your rental income, if you should have an issue of somebody having, like if you should have a hurricane issue and somebody needs to move out, many times that's covered in insurance as well. Your rental income is covered. So I don't get concerned about the numbers because I invest in a place that potentially could see a hurricane. I just want to make sure the resident's taken care of, and that's what our team is poised to do. Great question there. And John said, I had a great talk with Mike Stewart yesterday. Very impressed with what I heard. And John, we certainly appreciate it. I'll pass that along to Mike Stewart. Those 2 individuals that I shared with you, guess what both of their first name is? Mike. And if any of you are sports radio fans, Mike and Mike in the Morning was a great radio talk show host from the guys at ESPN. And so we call him Mike and Mike in the Morning in the office all the time. So if you get on the phone with Mike and Mike, you know, you can tell them that, you know, that you heard it here. So let's see here. So anything else that we forgot there, Kate?
I don't think forgot. I have one question, comment from Facebook over here.
All right.
From D, it's a little outside of the new construction topic.
Okay.
She was just wanting your opinion on what people are saying right now about another recession with the stock market.
Okay, so D asked my opinion on a recession coming with the stock market, right? And I'm assuming we should tie it somewhere into real estate and why I'm still buying 500 to 700 properties a year. Yeah, I think the general consensus out there is that we are due for a correction in the stock market. I don't think I'm shocking anybody by agreeing with that. I think it's surprising that we've had overall this long of a run. So I think that's going to happen. The question is, how does that affect what we're doing here for rental properties? Well, what you're going to find is that the more expensive homes in a market generally are correlated. Their performance is correlated to discretionary income. And discretionary income is what you find invested in the stock market. So when the stock market corrects and it takes a dump, what you're going to find is that the pricing of real estate that is higher, right, the more expensive homes, is more susceptible to dropping, right? So you look at those high-priced homes. In Jacksonville, it's probably $750,000 and above is what I would call a high-priced home. You know, I think those homes may not appreciate very high depending on what the stock market does. But what we're investing here is not those $750,000 homes. We're investing in homes that are middle income to below middle income, right? Price points between $160,000 and $200,000. That's not discretionary income that a lot of people have in the stock market. So what you're going to find is their performance of that type of a segment in real estate is not generally correlated to the stock market performance. In addition to this, people are really misinformed as to what happens in the real estate market when there is a recession. There's some great data that we've put on there. Maybe if you go onto our blog, you'll see some trainings that we've had, some keynotes that we've given, some articles that we've written about what actually happens in recessions. And you're going to find that, generally speaking, recessions don't lead to lower home prices in real estate. So some really compelling data there. The last newsletter that we put out, I believe it was the June newsletter that we put out, wrote an entire article about this. So I would encourage you to go to jwbrealestatecapital.com/blog and look for that article. You're going to find it there. So Laura said she's hoping to be. She just needs to finish up some rehabs and free up some capital. All right, Laura, we'll wait for you. Let us know when the time's right to join on this train here. Carl, do most clients finance properties or pay cash or some of both? That is a great question. Again, that is the value of planning this out is right there for you, right? We're going to sit down and we're going to understand what's better for you. Just because you have the money to buy all cash, does it make sense for you to buy all cash, right? A lot of it has to do with what your timeline, your horizon is, right? If you are a little bit older and you're getting close to retirement, I might have a different answer for you than if you are a 35-year-old or a 45-year-old and you're kicking butt in your job and you have some extra income or you have some extra capital. You know, then we might be more likely to finance more. But to answer your question, clients do both. Clients can finance. Clients can buy cash. We can even finance in your retirement accounts. We have the ability to do that, which is not normal. That's a whole nother training in itself. So Carl, what I would encourage you to do is to get on the phone with Mike and Mike over here and to ask that question. We can sit down and map this out for you specifically. Who builds these homes? We have builders that we've been working with for years now. So JWB acts as a superintendent, and we have builders who also are GCs, who also have superintendents who actually swing the home. So contrary to what you may be thinking, Greg doesn't get out there and actually swing the hammer. We have an extensive team in office here and extensive building partners that actually build these homes. But of course, it all rolls up to being JWB inventory and meeting our standards. And Laura said, I appreciate you coming to the Fortune Builders training in Orlando this weekend as well. Very informative and appreciated. Well, we're super excited that we got to see you there too. Laura, it sounds like you had some time to sit down. I believe both of the mics were at the Fortune Builders training. So when you get the opportunity to come and meet us at any of our live trainings or here in webinar land, we're super appreciative of the time that you spend with us. And Chris was there too. Well, fantastic. All right. Nia said, it's an awesome presentation. You already answered all my questions. So with that, I think we are ready. Drum roll, please. Do you have a drum roll? Oh, man, you had Jeopardy queued up, but no drum roll, huh? Drum roll. Oh, well, we're going to have to get a drum roll.
Okay, all right. Give me a second.
How quickly do you think Kate can Google drum roll and get this going? Completely on the spot. Bing. She's going to Bing it. She doesn't like Google. She is like the one person in the world who likes to Bing things, apparently. Dude. Oh, we got drum roll. I think we can hear it. I'm mic'd up. Can you all hear the drum roll out there? Barely, she says. All right, there's the drum roll. And who's it going to be, Kate?
Gal, Chris.
It's going to be Chris. Chris, congratulations. You won the book. Thank you all for being a big part of this today and all of your amazing questions. And we super appreciate it. Have a wonderful rest of the day.